Hey there, good afternoon, new friends. Hopefully, the more that I post of these, the more that we can all come together and share our stories and how we've overcome anxiety and fear and any health struggles that have come to light because of COVID. It is Heather from Simply Me to You, and we are doing another talk today. No shame, no filter. Today, I'm going to be discussing confronting your fear. Now, fear in itself can be a very powerful, it brings very powerful imagery. Maybe you're fearful of, some of us when we were younger, my age, we got spankings. Yes, I know, we did. We got spankings. And so some of us, when you think of fear, you think of that moment before you're getting spanked by your dad. And it just has all of this panic rushing up in you. Some of us are fearful because we are going through a separation, a divorce. We've lost our jobs. Some of us are fearful over not fitting in. We're fearful that we don't belong, that we're starting at zero, that we're starting from the beginning, that we're all alone. But there's so much that fear itself could represent. And I am notoriously running away from any kind of confrontation whatsoever. Not a fan of it. It's that fight or flight response within me from my childhood. I don't like to confront things. If I'm in a discussion with someone, they think they're right. Guess what? They're right. Because as an adult, I've chosen to basically just let people be who they want to be, because that is, hey, that's awesome. And if it's truly a toxic relationship where they are unable to apologize or they are unable to have an open discussion regarding a different perspective, then, it's okay to not have that person in your life. Sometimes, for some of us, sadly, this also does come down to family members. But for the most part, today, we need to discuss our fear within ourselves. So for example, and I will use myself and continue to use myself while I'm collecting stories from others, but I'm going to continue to use myself because I just need all of you guys, anyone who's giving me 10 minutes of their time listening, I need you guys to know that I'm acknowledging and understanding my flaws. I stayed in corporate America. I worked a job as a manager. It was a textile location here in Northeast Tennessee. I started when I was 19, and I left in May of 2021. I stayed because I was really good at what I did. Because I started at such a young age, and because my childhood had trained me to be a people pleaser, and because the way that my brain works, I just love solving puzzles and have different moving pieces and seeing how those pieces incorporate and tie into each other. For me, whether it's a job or whether it's a suspenseful novel or a great story or, something you're binge watching on Netflix and you don't want any judgment because after 6 episodes it asks you if you're still there and you're like, yes, I'm still here because the story is captivating. I stayed at that job for 22 years and I do have some regrets with that, but I also know that I was able to do a lot of things and learned so much because of how much trust was put into me day after day, month after month, year after year, when I was proving myself to be an advocate and someone who was strong in representing this company. But fear kept me there. That is a regret I have. My job became so all-consuming that while I am married, raising 3 children, my cell phone, my laptop went on every single vacation with me, went on every single sick day. At one point, I think I was giving birth to either my son or my daughter, and it had to be my son. He was premature, went to the hospital, wasn't expecting for him to be born that day. Sadly, he did spend 10 days in a NICU unit, and so, Heather was a hot mess. Because my eldest and my middle, which is my son, so my eldest daughter, then my middle child, which is my son, there's 10 years between them. And so I was nervous wreck. But I can remember leaving the hospital, and my son was still at the NICU. So the first thing that I did, I went to work to pick up some files that I was working on that I had been working on 3 days prior that I just wanted to finish. He was in the NICU. I needed a way to occupy my time. And so while my employer did not argue with me taking those files home, one could argue that I wasn't in a good headspace because my son was premature and I was trying to keep myself busy. But as the years passed by and my role became more and more and more connected with the company, you have to realize, yes, I was a manager and I was good at what I did, but I had no ownership of this company, none. But somehow a 19-year-old Heather and then a 25-year-old Heather and a 30-year-old Heather, I wrongfully tied so much of myself, just these intricate aspects of my own identity, into my job. It wasn't necessarily asked of me to do this, but because I was a people pleaser, because I'd been hired when I was so young, and I actually do genuinely enjoy learning new things, for me to take on more responsibilities as the years passed by was a natural progression for me. So fear kept me there, because then it became, okay, the guys that are on the floor, they need a leader. They need someone who will make sure they don't run out of raw materials. I need to make sure that my customers get their orders. I need to make sure that this isn't running late and this is arriving. And I was really good at it. And honestly, when I first left, I actually really missed it. Just missed the challenging aspects of it, because when you're putting together a puzzle and, maybe the puzzle pieces aren't the exact same size and shape, but you're trying to see how all the cogs and wheels and all the whistles go together, it was challenging and stressful. And there were days I cried at my desk, and there were days when it seemed like nothing went right. But I can honestly say that the experience was more good than not. But having now been almost out of that location for a year, I also know that realistically, I stayed way too long. I let my fear keep me there because it wasn't fear. It was job stability. It was a steady paycheck. It was a way that I was providing for my family. And so while it's represented other things that weren't fear-based, it did become comfortable, like a really well broken in pair of shoes, that maybe it has like a hole in the toe because the dog nibbled on it, but those slippers are just right. And so regardless, you're just going to keep wearing that same pair of slippers. So when COVID happened, the beginning of 2020, the textile location that I worked at, we immediately started doing lamination for PPE, personal protective, oh, you know what? It's PPE, oh God. That's embarrassing. PPE, a personal protective wear. I don't know what the E stands for. PPE. Doesn't matter. Moving on. And we were running thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of yards a week. Just trying to crank the yardage out because overnight in the United States and Canada, on this side of the world, you had people were fearful. People didn't understand, how fast and how many were going to be affected by COVID. And for a while, that fear, I still think it's different parts of the country. I still think that fear of the unknown and that fear of getting sick are still very, very much there. Absolutely. So we were running like PPE, and there was 2 women that worked at the location, and the other woman who was like my older sister. She was there for 30 years. I was there for 22, but she began to have some health issues, and so she went ahead and retired. Now, at age 42, it's not like I retired. I didn't retire, but I did walk away in 21. After she left, the bulk of the responsibility fell on me, and it wasn't right. It wasn't right. And because of the political climate, and you really don't wanted to introduce new possible employees into the company because, people were already paranoid. Oh no, they're coughing. Are they sick? Oh no, their spouse is in the hospital. Oh no, they're gonna infect the entire workplace. The company I worked for, we had 25 guys. So while I understand those fears, and they're absolutely, yes, absolutely legitimate at the time, yes, but it became pretty blooming obvious that the more that I gave of myself, the more they were going to continue to take. And so in 21, January 7th of 2021, I just kind of went to the owner of the company and I was like, you know what? I'm done. And I gave 3-4 month notice. And the young woman who replaced me, she's amazing. And, I was there for so long, you would think, oh goodness, I bet that they missed you. No, because I was really good at what I did. And I was really good at training my replacements. And the owner and then the vice president of this company are older than I am. And over the years, you tell stories, and you tell stories of your kids and your spouses. And they always said, oh, we're your big brother, Heather. We're your big brother. No, we're not family. All I was an employee who was really blooming good at her job. So my own husband, who honestly is pretty saint-like recently, he allowed me to walk away. We made financial plans for me to walk away, and I did. I walked away. And for the first couple of months, I was just like, let's call it what it is. I was sad. I felt lost. I didn't know exactly how to be just a mom. And I don't mean just a mom is not, that's like a huge and beautiful, amazing gift that you can give your family. But I started at that job when I was 19. So I didn't know what Heather looked like without being this person who was in charge and people respected her and she had all of this knowledge and she had all of this influence and she could call her vendors and be like, hey, I need this, and call her customers and be like, hey, we're shipping this today. That Heather ceased to exist. And I became a wife, a mom, hopefully a better friend, hopefully a better daughter, a better sister. But fear kept me there. I hope you guys do not let fear, and trust me, I get it. It's so easy just to keep doing it because it's what you know. Yes, understand, 100%. It is easy to keep doing what you know because of fear. You know it's expected, right? So even if you're in trouble and your dad's going to give you a spanking, and like my dad used a leather belt and it was horrible, but your dad's going to give you a spanking, you knew not to act up. You knew just to go through, because even though the fear of the upcoming spanking was coming, but you knew what it was going to feel like. Then you were going to go up to your room, you're going to cry into your pillow and try to behave, right? Until the next time that you maybe were a kid and acting like a kid and causing mischief. So when I left, you know, I had these huge aspirations. I'm gonna become an influencer. Okay. And you know what? I might still. But let's talk about fear. I'm 42 years old. I don't think that that's middle-aged. But compared to like 20-year-olds, 25-year-olds, oh yeah, I'm absolutely over the hill, you know, over the hill, definitely. I think that I am gorgeous. I mean, look at this. Hello. Yes, I'm beautiful. But again, people start beginning to compare themselves to others. Am I the most beautiful woman that walked out of the... No. Do I have something to say? Yes. Do I know that I am not alone? Yes. Do I know that words can be powerful? Yes. Do I know that people coming together to share their stories, or at the very least listening to stories so that maybe they're not feeling as isolated, as alone, do I believe that that is something that I can do? Absolutely. Yes, I do. And it's going to take time. And, you know, I'm not sure how this is going to work. I know that long term, I've got these huge plans. And of course, you know, I'm working on some side things. You know, I do feel that the best way for me to be a supporter of my family is to be a financial provider of some sorts. Because I always have been. So you kind of like are stumbling around in the dark, stepping on the Lego pieces, because your new normal is vastly different. You know, I used to not be able to sleep because of the stress and just this dread that was in my chest all the time, because there was a continuous to-do list in my head, like constantly going through, what do I need to do next? 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 And I've been gone for almost a year. Guess what? That still happens. Even though I'm not this manager person that had this amazing career and she was so important and everyone loved her, I still have so much to offer. even if it's just pulling you guys in one by one, letting you guys hear me blabber on, but allowing you guys to know that you're not alone. I really, guys, I hope you guys know that. So am I starting from zero? Yes. Did you start from zero? Most likely. I have no plans of releasing any kind of, I don't know, sex tape to make me famous. Of course not. No. Actually, there's not one that even exists. So, and so, you know, I'm going to do this the old-fashioned way and hopefully give quality content and give pointers that will help you guys out. But if you hear nothing else, just take a look at your situation. And if you're hiding because of fear, what are you scared of? I mean, what are you scared of? And you don't have to tell me, and maybe you don't actually even know. But just really start to look and feel and live in the moments and say, I am scared of this, this, and this. Once you know what you're scared of, then you can start to take the steps in order to turn it around. So I'm going to include like some information if you guys would like to follow along on my journey on different other platforms where I sell purses and I attempt to be funny on Instagram or TikTok. And honestly, I'm really just thankful that you're here because, hey, there's a bazillion, cajillion YouTube channels out there. So if you've even given me 5 minutes of your day to listen to this, I'm going to take it as a win. And I hope that you guys are able to confront your fears. And I'm hoping that you guys are able to come out the other side stronger because of it. And I will be here rooting for all of you guys to do that. So I will see you guys next time.